G'day, it's Heath here from pickinglessons.com. The Sailor's Wife. This is a great jig in the key of D minor. In a moment, we're going to take a look at part A of this arrangement here in this video. But if you head to pickinglessons.com, you'll be able to grab yourself a copy of the tab that we're working through. Has a notation in there as well. And we'll break down part B of this lesson in the members section there. We also have some play along and backing tracks there to help you as you're learning the tune. So pickinglessons.com. Now, we're going to break down part A first, then we're going to touch on some of the techniques and areas we want to work on for that section. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Okay, so there was part A broken down a little slower. Now we are in the key of D minor. We're using the natural D minor scale. For the majority of the melody, later on in the tune, in the turnaround, we actually use the harmonic, so we raise the 7th, so there's a C sharp. Sounds like this. So slightly different sound, but you'll pick that up as we go through. We have some techniques in here we want to look at, and in particular this first measure. Measure 1, we have this hammer on pull off. We'll talk about the picking in a moment as well for this 6/8 jig time, but let's have a look at what's happening in the left hand for this first opening measure. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6, and. We have a hammer on pull off slur there in our rhythm. And we want to make sure we're playing those notes as we count. So 2 beats in our 6/8 time. 1, 2, 1, 2, broken down into 2 groups of 3. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6, and. There are hammer on pull-offs there. So we do need to wait a little bit before we hammer on there to that F note in the melody, the 3rd fret. Hold, and then hammer on, pull off with a flick, and then the second pull off there. Back to the open string. So work on that technique. You can just work on the hammer on, pull off. Nice and firm with the hammer on. When you're there, strong, flick through the string to get that kind of pluck off the note for the pull off. So for the left hand, that's about as hard as it gets. Otherwise, we're pretty much just in standard open position for the mandolin. The right hand, just before we move on, we want to try and play down on the pulse. So notice that we're going down, up, down, down for that 2nd fret there on the 2nd half of the measure. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Down, up, down, down. We want to continue that theme. We'll work on that as we go through. But the 2nd measure, nice and easy, and we get to use that picking approach there really, really comfortably. Down, up, quarter note, 8th, quarter note, 8th. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Measure 3. This is where we really want to probably look at our right hand just to make sure we're emphasizing the pulse. We'll talk about that in a moment, but our melody. So what I'm doing there in the right hand, the melody itself is pretty straightforward. We're just running down the scale there, but the right hand, 2 groups of 3, down, up, down, down, up, down. Here is where it can get a little tricky. Down, up, down, down. The 2 downs there that kind of bring us from first half to 2nd half of the measure. Down, up, down, down, up, down. It really helps us to keep that sort of pulse really solid. So there's the pulse. So every time the pulse comes in, I'm trying to be on a downstroke. We will be on a downstroke if you follow the picking direction that's marked in the tablature. You could go about it with just a straight alternating approach. And just be conscious of where that pulse is. That's okay. You can do that. That's fine. But playing it as a downstroke, you really find it does define that pulse really well. And with some practice, you find it's actually not that hard. It's just a routine to kind of build into your practice and your playing of a jig. So the double down, the kind of that connection. But we'll work on that again in the next measure. So measure 4. Down, up, down, down, up, down. It's just being prepared for it. And you kind of, like I said, once you've practiced it, it becomes kind of normal when you play a jig. It makes a whole lot of sense. And when you hear it with that pulse, if we're playing in 3/4 time with these 6 notes, it'd be a completely different thing. So 3/4 time, we'd probably approach it more like this. So you've got to be careful not to fall into that trap if you just alternate. So again, the jig timing. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 1, 2, 1, 2. Down, down on the pulse. Down, up, down, down, up, down, down, up, down, down. You get the picture, so that's really important. So do try and work on that. Moving through second half, we have a bit of a repeat. Same as the first measure. Same as the second measure. Now, measure 7, measure 8, before we hit the repeat. This actually is the same as in part B as well, so 2 downstrokes there on the end on the D. Let's have a look at what's happening in measure 7. We've got an arpeggio firstly over the D minor, and then the A7, sorry, from the G note. There's that C sharp from the harmonic minor, D harmonic minor. Works really nice when you do close out or want to resolve back to the root note of the key you're in. Down, up, down, down, up, down, down, down. So there we have, really watch that picking. The picking is very important to the style or to the feel of a jig. Then otherwise, left hand's pretty straightforward. You got that hammer-on pull-off slur to work on there. Positioning-wise is kind of okay. Again, it's just more about the tempo with these jigs. We recorded this one at 120. You could play a little slower, that'd be okay. A little faster would be fine. That's sort of ballpark 120. Key of D minor, it's a great key. Works really well on the mandolin. Have fun with the tune. Pickinglessons.com will break down part B of this tune now, and you'll also find the tablature. So pickinglessons.com. I'll see you there.